I'm with a farming couple here from in the Ringarooma Basin who are dairy farmers, and yesterday you had a very interesting experience. What time was it when you had your experience?
At 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep, let's hear it.
So I went to pick up the kids from the bus, and we're coming back from the bus, and it's a stretch of road where we sort of just come down over a hill, and there was an animal jaywalking, I suppose you could say, across the road away from us. And Sophie and Caden said that they saw the same thing. Like they said, we all exclaimed, "What's that? It's got a strange looking tail." And it walked really strangely too. And they were probably the things that stood out about it. The tail was as long or longer than it seemed than the animal. It was dark coloured, and it was because of the shadows that we didn't get any dots or spots or stripes or anything. All I can say that it was a dark colour.
Yeah. And you were looking at it from behind.
We were looking at it sort of from behind because it was crossing the road diagonally away from us.
Yep.
It didn't seem to be aware that we were there, because it didn't seem to hurry. It just disappeared into the bush because it's quite
One of the
densely...
kids thought that it was injured.
Right, okay. Because it had a peculiar gait about it,
Yeah.
the way it was moving.
It wasn't a cat walk. It wasn't a dog walk.
It was more of a wombat walk, really.
I wouldn't
But it
call it.
clearly
It
wasn't
wasn't
a
a wombat because
yeah, it had a big long tail.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was quite slight. Like it wasn't a heavily built animal like that you
Right.
go.
Was it
Yeah,
sort of
like
like
it
a
was.
little bit like a greyhound?
Yeah, quite.
We should Google the picture and that one at South Australia in the sunset.
Yes.
That
Was
and
it-
they straight away said that
That was probably the most similar thing that I could say
As far
that it
as
looked like.
the shape,
The shape,
the
and
angle as well
yeah.
is similar, I suppose, on that one, because that's sort of taken as
Yeah,
it's going
yes.
across on an angle.
Yes,
across
that's
some
right.
road.
So that we didn't really get a good profile of the shape of
I was
the
going to
face.
suggest to have a look at that one on your iPad here.
Yeah,
as soon
okay,
as you
right.
mentioned the gait, the peculiar gait.
Yeah.
So, what did you see? You were there.
Yeah, I thought it was weird.
Yeah. How big was it?
About as big as a fox, maybe?
What's the size of our dogs out there?
So we got a foxy and a sausage dog.
Yeah. They're reasonably small.
Yeah,
but it was
it's
about twice, maybe even.
So it was smaller than a big dog, like a Labrador or something like that. would
yes,
you say?
yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger than
Probably
a
half the
cat,
size of a Labrador.
bigger than a cat, and smaller than a
Big dog.
big dog.
Yeah. Okay. But it was very
And
light
because it
and
was,
thin.
like it was, and its tail seemed out of proportion to its body. Would
Yeah.
that seem right?
Yeah. Did this have longer legs
Yes.
than a devil sort of thing?
Yes,
Like it was
definitely.
upright like a dog.
Definitely
But not
longer
a dog.
legs. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely longer legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've seen devils on that section of road before,
Yep.
and you see a devil and you know it's a devil.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
I've
just-
seen a spotted quoll, and
Yep. Because they can get quite big and have a long tail.
yeah,
It's quite
dark,
stiff and dark in colour as
dark,
well. Yeah.
and would it? So the tail would sort of
Wisp up at the bit at the end.
at
sort of
the
thing.
end,
Yeah.
right? This sort of like
It
hung
just
at a
went down.
weird angle.
So it went out and stuck out on an angle down like that.
Yeah, but it seemed very big compared to the body of the animal.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
You're in our group, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay, on Facebook. So when you get a chance, go on there. There was a video put up there this morning from Canberra of this animal in a front yard, and I'm quite adamant that it's a juvenile female thylacine. And have a look at the tail on that and the angle of the tail on that, and tell me if it's what you saw. It's between
A dog and a cat seem to have their tail more off the ground.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
that's
say.
quarter is 90 degrees, yeah?
Yeah, yes.
So it's be about 45 degrees, halfway
Yes,
through a
45
quarter.
degrees.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a cat has an S-shaped tail.
Tim
you
the
know.
Yow,
Yeah, and
It goes in there.
cats often hold their tail off to the side with a
Yes.
turn too. They'll move it sideways and sort of wisp it around a bit. That's a pretty interesting
Yeah, I did see that actually.
That is not a
Did see
fox.
that.
I'm telling you now, that is not a fox.
The back end of that looks a bit wider than perhaps the animal, but it was.
Then you saw a
The-
male.
Oh right.
I reckon that's a female because it's got a, no disrespect to the ladies,
Yeah, yeah.
well, but it's got a
hips.
bigger butt.
Yeah. Okay, right.
That actually does look a lot like it.
Because they're going to carry a pouch underneath there
Yeah.
full of, 4
Yeah,
joeys.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
they
Okay.
carry a fair load. When them joeys are ready to come out of that pouch, she's pretty full.
Yeah,
Pretty
okay.
crowded in there if she's had a full litter.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Yeah, okay.
That was
So-
walking a little bit differently though.
So you saw it too, mate?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That
So was everybody in the car?
Yeah, Mackenzie
Except
didn't see it
us
because
two.
he was.
Oh, okay.
saw
You
it.
two
And
were,
we're
right.
probably the
I didn't see
we're
it.
probably the people that talk about Thylacines the most.
You weren't there.
there.
Isn't that poetry in motion? What did you see, mate?
I was kind of limped up, like, kind of
So-
jump.
You've seen rabbits, the way rabbits sometimes run around and they hop
Yeah.
with the back feet and
Yeah.
sometimes run with the front feet?
Yeah.
Similar to that?
I
Yeah,
probably
sorta.
would say that.
So like
But almost doing this
yeah, like a
occasionally?
bit disjointed.
Yes,
It was
yes.
a very static walk. Like it was like,
Okay, really jolty.
yeah, very, yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
How long did you see it for?
It would
Probably,
have.
honestly, quite like.
It felt like a long time, but it wouldn't have been. Well, put it this way: as we came over the hill, it was there,
Yep.
and until we turned, and we
probably like
had to get
10,
home to
20
do
And then it went
jobs.
into a paddock.
No, it went into bush.
Into
So-
bush.
Otherwise,
There
I
was
would
no
have
fence.
gone down. No,
No fence,
well,
just
I
went-
don't imagine.
It
There
went,
probably
it
is.
went like that, and then
Yeah.
it went that way.
Yeah, sort of.
No, it went that, and then
So it did a right angle and then started running alongside the road,
I think.
so
Yeah.
to speak,
Sure.
in the bush.
So I was walking across, and turned around, and then started walking
Yeah.
like, back in, sort of.
Okay, yep. So what's the speed limit along there? What speed were you
Oh
doing?
well, I'm slowing down to go into a
bend.
into
So you're
turn.
decreasing, yep.
So I'm decreasing. I would have only been doing maybe 40 k's.
Okay.
And then slowing
And
down.
looking out the window there, see that crow walking across the grass there? Was it that far away? or
Probably
it further?
was. Yeah, it probably would have been.
Okay, so that's about 35 metres,
Yeah.
maybe 40 metres at the most.
Yeah. 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 It was. It wasn't close.
But it was close
But
enough
it was
to
close
see it.
enough to see the distinction in its shape and its walk and
And on
that
that
it was
video,
dark and
on that video, the fur looked a lot like it, like because it was in the shade a little bit.
Because it was long,
Yeah.
long fur you saw.
Yeah.
Was it sort of a little bit scruffy looking?
Yeah, it did look pretty. It sort of looked like possum fur.
Yep.
You
but
know,
it definitely
yeah.
wasn't a possum.
But it wasn't a possum.
Yeah, 'cause
Way-
it was way too big.
Definitely wasn't a possum.
And what else can you tell me about the animal when you saw it? Like, so maybe how far from it were you when you passed it, sort of thing? How far?
Well, we didn't pass
you
it.
didn't pass
No,
it. You
we
got
didn't
away
pass
before
it.
you
It
passed
was well, it was beyond the corner that we turned into.
Okay.
The-
so it was
the-
going away,
Yeah,
and
right.
you turned off.
Yes.
So you never actually passed
No.
it. You got away from
no.
it before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if we hadn't, like,
We would have.
If you'd kept going straight
if
ahead,
we
you would have
we
passed
would
it.
have, yeah, we would
Yeah.
have passed it. But I say that by then it would have gone into the trees because it's
Right.
all thick bush in there.
And was it going from left to right?
It was going from.
Yeah, left
Yeah,
to
left
right.
along behind
Yeah,
it, went
left
from
to
the left
right.
and went to right
left
and
to
disappeared
right.
up that
From
way.
one bush, I'd say it's gone from one
So there's
bush
trees
on
on
one
both
side
sides
of
of
the
the road.
road
Yeah.
into scrub on the other side of the
So the
road.
Bryce's
thick.
race is right there. Bryce's race. So I don't know
Yes,
if you're
yes.
familiar with the Bryce's
Yeah.
race. Crosses the road right there.
Okay.
So which would, to me, give me indication that there's a game trail. Is
Up
that
there.
right?
Yeah, there would be. Yeah, there'd be game trails all through there. Do you get many deer up this way?
We
Mm,
have
there's
seen
deer.
tracks,
Yep. Okay.
but physically haven't seen them.
Yeah. And so you're all familiar with quolls, so you know it
Yeah.
definitely wasn't a quoll
No, it
because it was
wasn't.
taller, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I
a
would
quoll's
think.
about this high.
And would a quoll's tail be at that same angle?
No, because they're lower to the ground.
That's what I would've
And they've
thought.
still got a long tail, so the angle would be less. You know, you
Yeah.
have to be higher to get the tail down further.
Yeah.
Because a quoll's bum in the air, a big adult quoll, tiger quoll, the spotted ones, that high off the ground when it's fully
Yeah.
grown, and that would be one with a body about that big. That would be a reasonable sized quoll with a body about that big, but they've got shorter legs.
Yeah, no, these had quite long
It's probably
legs
like that tall.
and
Yeah.
a slight
Okay.
body, like a slight sort of a body.
Thin.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. But this tail, like the tail was just thick and.
Have you ever cooked rabbits?
No.
But you've seen
I've
scum
seen
rabbits?
Yeah.
You know what a scum rabbit looks like in its shape?
Yeah.
Similar to that, like really not a lot of stomach area on the animal and
No.
skinny
You
hips.
should get Roy.
But a deep chest, so it's got that real curve.
Like
sort
a
of
dash
thing
hand.
going on.
Yeah.
Underneath, if you look at its profile.
Yeah. And like I say, because it was on a bit of an angle to us, it was hard to see
Get a real good
exactly
look at it.
what it was like. But the tail was what sticks in my mind. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it does.
The tail really
But it did
sticks
Tail.
seem
out.
way too strange for any other animal.
Yeah.
So 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
10,
Yeah.
20, maybe 15.
No more than 10 seconds probably.
As you
10,
decrease in
like as
speed,
we
you slow down.
decreased in
Yeah.
speed and like it didn't seem to run like it didn't
Yeah.
seem. But I suppose because I was slowing down anyway
Yeah.
as I came over the hill because I know I've got to turn.
Yep.
The car wouldn't have been revving much, so
Yeah,
it
'cause
would
it's
have been
decreasing, you're
relatively
slowing down on the
quiet.
gears.
We have a
That's
diesel
right.
car.
No,
diesel
it's
car.
auto.
Okay.
Diesel as well,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
is a bit
A little
different
bit
sound.
slower in the revs and stuff.
Yeah, so
Whenever we used to go shooting, you'd get more if you had a diesel vehicle than a petrol motor.
Yeah, definitely. They do a lot of idling, they're good for that. You sit there and idle all night.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so did anything else you boys saw about it that pops out in your mind at all?
With its face.
You didn't see it?
I got a
didn't look
little
at
bit
you
of
at
its
all?
face. I got a little bit of its face. Like
Side on?
Yeah, side on, and it seemed.
Its ear, little ear, like sort of pointy ears.
But
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
Not big like a fox's or a German shepherd.
It
No.
sort of had the face of a possum, but like a longer nose though.
Okay.
Like
Yep.
the head of a possum, but like quite a lot longer nose.
Yep.
It's a weird hair.
Yeah,
So the muzzle was more
Yeah.
dog-like.
yeah.
More dog-like, you know, like a bigger dog.
Yeah.
German shepherd or something, or a pointer. They got a longer muzzle. Yep.
So at what point would the young leave
The mother.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of conjecture there, but the theory that I sort of have, that a couple of people agree with me on, is that the young are very slow growing and they only breed every 2 to 3 years. So the young probably stay with mum until they're at least 2 to 3 years old, I would say. And probably somewhere around 2.5 they start becoming independent. So that's, I mean, do you remember that famous photo of the mother in the cage with the 3 cubs? The Mullins animals, I think they're called. Have you seen that photo on the group? There's one photo of a mum with three cubs, and the cubs are nearly as big as mum.
her.
They're
right.
decent size. They're not little. And she was caught with all 3 joeys, you know.
Right.
So it's fair to say that they're a reasonable size when they're still with their mum. And I reckon the boys probably leave earlier than the girls. The girls probably stay with mum a bit longer.
Right.
Mum's feet, the biggest I've found that I reckon were female, were about 3.5 inches wide. Dad's 4.5. Dad gets a little bit bigger. And I've found intermediate ones that were smaller than 3.5 too, that were with mum.
Oh.
We found some that looked like mum plus 2 joeys that were with her, and they were about 2.5 inches wide. So, but you know, I'm just some crackpot that's chasing dogs around the bush, you know. But we cast those prints. That was in March.
Yeah,
That was out
right.
at my house.
Oh,
And
right.
about 3
Whereabouts?
nights ago, out near South Mount Cameron.
Right.
I live in
Right.
South Mount Cameron.
Yeah,
just before
okay.
I wouldn't be
Gladstone.
surprised if there was. dogs.
Yeah, and 2 nights ago, on Wednesday night, I heard him yipping over the other side of the gully, sort of about half a kilometre away. I could hear him. There was one over there, one over there,
Talking
and then
to
there was
each
one
other.
over there and one over there, and you could hear they were moving. And they were moving quick, like within a minute. They'd gone from way over
changed.
there to over here. So it wasn't,
Do you reckon they're hunting or?
yes, yeah I do. I think they're spooking the paddy melons. There's a lot of paddy melons and possums and stuff out my way. There's heaps, because there's not much farmland out there.
Yeah.
There's only one
Yeah, it
property with a
definitely
few
did look
cattle.
like that hand on.
Yeah.
There, that's a hyena male and another little male, I think, that photo. That one was...
So it looked like, to me, it looked lost.
It did.
It looked like it didn't really know where it was going.
Okay, that's interesting observation. What makes you say that? Just, it looked disorientated?
It just looked like I would have imagined that it would be keen to get across the road.
And get out of sight.
Yeah.
Did you see it actually come onto the road and then
It was
onto the
on
road?
there. It was
was
already
probably
sort of
halfway across the
starting
road.
to
When you
cross
came
the
over
road
the
when we
crest
came
and went
over,
in. Yep.
and we're slowing down, and it's sort of just going in like that. Hey.
Yeah.
Mind's own business.
Yeah.
None of the kids had their phone handy.
Well, I suppose you're trying to like we're just going
I know,
home,
yeah.
and there was a bit of drama happening at the time, and you
Come
know
home
that
from
you.
school.
So it was sort of like it's the last thing you're expecting,
Yeah,
and then you're
exactly,
wishing
exactly.
that you know you start your mind's going, what
Tick-tock.
was that like? Yeah.
So what about noises? Have you heard many strange noises out here at night?
No, but
But it was
we
quite
go.
a while. Like it's quite far away from here.
Well, it'd be
How many caves from here roughly?
only two.
Okay,
It'd
not far.
only be two.
Yep.
But like I say, it seemed like it didn't really know where it was going.
Yep.
Which makes me wonder if it was maybe fresh out of the nest.
Or you might have spooked it and it just took off because it heard you coming, do you think?
Yeah. Well, no, it just
'Cause you were
didn't
a fair
seem
way
to
from it
be
when you
worried
first saw
about
it.
us.
It
It didn't
didn't
seem
walk,
to
it just
look
looked
like it
slow.
even realised we were there.
He was just
Yeah.
walking really slow.
Yeah.
And its head
just-
was up?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you remember looking at it from that angle? Can you remember if it looked like it was up level or up down at the front slightly or up at the front?
It was kind of hunched over in a way, wasn't it?
Yeah, it sort of did have a bit of a.
So the angle of the front to the ground sort of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the-
because it was sort of
going
sideways.
along.
It's sort of a bit hard with the angle, like because we weren't looking at it sort of like that. You know how if you can see something like that
square on, yeah.
to get the depth of field and that of it,
Yep, yep.
it was a bit hard, really.
Yeah,
because of the angle.
Yeah.
But I just remember the tail being what just sort of was like, what is that? Like, and its long legs and thin sort of body, and
It wasn't a roo.
and the way it carried itself,
Yeah, 'cause
like
it was on all
just
fours. It was
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
not a roo.
Yeah, it was. Oh, definitely not.
Roos
like,
are very
and they're
slow
just
when they're
yeah,
on
no,
all fours 'cause they
it was.
put all their weight like that and
it-
drag
But
their feet
also-
through, you know.
but that-
Very-
yeah.
They just
Have a big
But he was
back.
moving.
Yeah.
He
No.
was moving like its back legs as well, so it wasn't like hopping.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what Roos would
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the back legs were peculiar in the way they were moving
Yeah.
to
It
the
was,
front.
it was
Yeah.
sort of like it was walking in slow motion.
Yeah.
But it wasn't going
But-
slow though,
No.
was it?
But it
It's
seemed
just,
going
but I don't know what's in our like. You know, when you see something strange, you sort of like
You start questioning it all. and
you're
trying to
replaying
relive
it in
Yeah,
your mind,
yeah.
and you're going, yeah,
Just wish you had a dash
I
cam.
just-
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one dash cam moment.
yeah.
Never mind.
But I mean, because I had the other two kids see it
We didn't get
well,
a
like we
fairly
all sort of went, "What is that? It's
Yeah,
strange."
yeah.
You
It
know,
was
like
one of those
it's not a
moments.
cat, it's not a dog,
Yeah.
it's not a possum, it's not a wallaby.
It caught all of your attention.
Yeah, and we were all just like the tail, the size of it, you know. And I've actually seen a big cat in Queensland
Ah, yeah.
3 years ago.
Okay.
The middle of the night, I was going to my sister's, and
Which part of Queensland?
well, it was on the around Kuya, so
Black Butt Range, is it?
yeah, between sort of Crow's Nest and
North of Toowoomba.
Right, so it's in the mountains.
Nanango.
Yeah.
There's a
In
range.
this Great Dividing Range.
Yeah. And so we're in that rangy part, and I come around the corner. My mum was with me, and the lights just here on the side of the road is this massive cat, like massive, and you just like, hope my car doesn't break down.
Well, What colour was it?
Dark black.
Dark black, yeah.
And like, I don't think it any word of a lie. It was nearly as big as the guidepost.
Yeah.
Just you knew it wasn't a dog. You knew it wasn't a.
There was no confusion that you were looking at a very big feline.
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of,
But I wasn't hanging around to investigate what it was.
I went and visited a chap yesterday in Launceston who's a hunter who's chasing something of those proportions about an hour's drive from Lonnie that he's seen about 5 times.
Like a cat or
Big cat. He
Right.
said it looks
Would
like
you
a
say
black
that's a
leopard.
black?
He said it looks like an
Yeah.
African leopard, but it's black. He can see spots in its fur. He's seen
Okay.
it under the spotty. A
Right.
couple of times. He's seen the big bright eyes and they're very wide apart.
Right.
Beautiful big sparkly eyes.
Yep.
It
Yeah,
did look
he's
like
seen a
that,
few
but-
things, and there's quite a few big cat sightings from Tassie. There's some from 1960s.
Oh.
So these things have been
Are
around for quite some
reproducing.
time. Oh yes, you make no mistake about it. I don't sleep on the ground with that big Bowie knife in my swag. I tell you, there's some big things out there. You drive that stretcher road every day.
Every day.
Yep. How long
Every
have you been
day
doing
at
it?
the same time.
A few years.
Yeah, since
4 years.
4 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah.
first time you've seen something
First
strange.
time.
Do you get many?
I've seen wallabies a
Sure.
bit. Probably more so in winter time when it's like darker, like early.
Darker, earlier they come out.
Yeah,
early.
they're sort of still out when I take the kids. But now, like, that's why it was sort of a bit bizarre for it to be 4 o'clock and quite broad daylight.
Yep.
And to see this thing just sort of, right there.
Excellent.
So would they Thylacine kill and like because we've had now I've found 3 wallabies just in random spots on the farm dead. And there's no evidence of any eating or anything, but
That's unusual. So no damage to the wallabies. They're just
not that I'm
randomly dead.
aware of. I've just come across them and
Do you
never
still
really.
get many paddy melons and wallabies on your blocks?
Yeah.
Yep. Do you cull them much at all? Do you have shooters come in and reduce
Oh,
the
I do a
numbers
little
at
bit
all?
myself, but
You
not
do a
really.
bit, yeah.
Not heaps.
No.
Okay,
no.
so you've got a reasonable number around.
Yeah, well, we do have wallaby fencing, but
Yeah.
it's only
They
as
still
good as
get
what
in
the
every now and then.
wombats dig the holes under as quick.
Yeah.
And you block them up, and
Have you ever found any wallabies or paddy melons or anything else with its head missing?
no.
Nothing?
No, the wedge tails normally do. If I go shooting, the wedge tails are there the next day.
And they'll clean it
I
up.
s- I s-
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're carving and there's a couple of wedge tails hanging around the carving paddock, I go shooting and feed them that way
Yeah.
because they're obviously
Then they'll
hungry.
stay away.
Yeah,
It won't
yeah.
bother you. Yeah, cool.
Mm.
Oh, that's good. You can provide for them that way. That we find on the mainland, we find massive kangaroos with their heads bitten off and their lungs gone. And the blood feeding is very typical thylacine.
Yeah, right.
Now we've found 4 wallabies in Tassie with the same condition, where their head's gone and their lungs are gone. But I think because there's so much more smaller game in Tassie than what there is on the mainland, they don't have to work as hard and chase big things because there's lots of little things still to
Yeah, to
catch.
catch.
So we don't find as many headless
Yeah.
kangaroos, but we've got a few examples of it down
Right.
here as well. So, but we find it in Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, Queensland, New South Wales. It happens everywhere. The headless kangaroo, headless wallaby thing, and nearly every time the lungs are gone too. So they're definitely a blood feeder, whatever it is. Dogs, a pack of wild dogs will tear something to shreds and just kill for fun. And when dogs get a bit of bloodlust on, they'll just kill 30 sheep and not even eat any of them. You know?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're just going crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, tigers feed real specifically, but they'll eat anything pretty much. They're not that specific that if all the wallabies disappeared, there'd be nothing for them to eat. They'll adapt. I've got examples of them eating ducks, lizards, dead seals on a beach. That's a historical one from the 1800s, but that was in Tassie. They'll eat any kind of fresh dead roadkill as well.
Yeah, right.
They take dogs from people's yards. They'll kill dogs, cats.
A lot of dogs go missing in the northeast over the years.
Yeah. They take dogs. They absolutely take pets.
Wow.
Make no mistake about it. They will take a dog. I know a lady who lost 2 in Western Australia.
Don't reckon our dogs would let that happen.
And
And
one gets
the
locked up.
thylacine in Western Australia that was hanging around, there was like a big old swampy area not far from our house with a big fence around it. It was going to be developed for housing. And they were slowly bringing in fill to bury the swamp so they could develop it all. But these animals were still coming through. And that had like I'd be 8 or 9 foot high cyclone mesh fence with the 3 strands of barbed wire. And the prince came along and they stopped at the fence.
And just scaled it.
And then they started on the other side of the fence. They got straight over. So they can jump very high in one leap. A normal farm fence, wouldn't even blink at it. They go straight over it. So they can bounce like a kangaroo whenever
If
they
they
want to.
need
And if
to.
they knew, they'll go 10, 12 feet bang, straight off the back. And they'll just lean back and projectile themselves straight up. So they've got plenty of spring in their step. A big adult male is a 7 foot long animal from tip to tip. That's a decent beast, you know. The biggest one from Woolnorth was 7 foot. That's a huge dog-like creature that likes to eat blood.
Yeah.
But they don't eat people. They're known to stalk people and follow them around. They'll check them out, but they don't
Don't
attack and hunt people.
Yeah, okay.
I think you'd have to be pretty unlucky.
You'd have to
get
be
eaten by a
sleeping or
thylacine.
something, maybe.
I'd be more worried about a big cat eating me than a thylacine.
Yeah.
any day. I don't
Yeah.
mind looking for a thylacine, but I don't want to bump into no big cats.
No.
So-
Definitely not. No.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
If you come across anything, any headless wallabies, or you hear some weird noises, you know some of the noises they make.
No.
Well, there's some samples of noises on our YouTube channel as
Right.
well. The ones I heard the other night were basically yipping. So they do like a yip, yip, yip.
Oh, right.
And
Like
it's really
a
quite
high
high pitched.
Right.
You'd think it was a Jack Russell, it's that high pitch.
Yeah, okay.
But you might hear one over there, but there'll be another one over there, and they'll be communicating to each other, spooking all the animals.
Yeah,
confusing.
okay. So the type of scrub that they'd like that mountains, like would they stick to the, or are they not?
They move
Tend
around a
to.
fair bit.
They
I don't
do?
know exactly what their preference is, because I've got sightings from every kind of habitat you can think of, really.
Yeah, right.
But they do prefer obviously the scrub that's got more game in it. So the drier forest has
right.
more possums and wallabies, because it's got more biodiversity of plants than the rainforest. The rainforest is just ferns and slush a lot of the time, you know.
So
It's
they
wet.
don't like the.
Well, they'll go through there to
But,
get somewhere,
yeah, to
but
get-
it's
yeah.
less game in there for them to catch most of the time. Rainforests aren't as biodiverse as dry forests, so you've got a lot more game
What
in a
would
dry
you call
forest.
the ridges?
Dry forest.
Dry forest, yeah. So you'll probably find there's plenty up there for them. But they'll eat possums. I've heard of them, you know, getting possums in a pack and freaking a whole heap of brush-tailed possums out, and they'll come in and just take them out.
Take them out. Wow.
But if you see wallabies in a tight pack in the paddock somewhere, there might be something around watching them, sort of thing. Sometimes, not that wallabies really herd up much,
No.
nor do paddy melons. They're very solitary, but sometimes you'll see them, and they're all
they'll
in a
be
group.
all together.
Yeah, because there's something stalking them.
Oh.
So
Right.
there's a few sort of things that make your ears prick up a bit, I suppose, when you're driving along and you see stuff. But yeah, even an eagle will make them do that. If there's a wedgie around them,
Yeah,
they'll
right.
pack up real quick. They get pretty scared. So
Yeah.
awesome. All right, well, I'll turn that off. Thanks very much for your story. That's excellent.